You call the roll, please.
Member Kane is absent. Member Elmer is absent. Chairperson Lantis.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Winika.
Here.
Member Crowley.
Here.
Member Maines.
Here.
Member Steresnickdean is absent.
And I would just like to make a note that our planner, Jennifer Reinhardt, is on Zoom with us tonight, so she will be, I'm sure, participating in the meeting. At this time, I would like to ask Planning Commission members to make any declaration of any conflict of interest or of any ex parte or outside communication that might influence their ability to hear all sides on any item of the agenda so that they might come to a fair decision. I will just say that I represent one of the builders at the Coves, and the Coves will be up item number 3, and we'll have a further discussion of what that means when we get to item number 3. So anyway, we're going to move right along. We're going to discuss any changes needed to the May 26, 2022 study session minutes, and I know we've all read them from cover to cover. Hearing nothing, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Crowley, you have anything you'd like to discuss? It's not on the agenda tonight.
No, sir.
Commissioner Maines.
I'll just say, which we were just talking about, I'm pretty excited to see the new sidewalks and stuff going in around the city, connecting a lot of the areas that people travel to and from. So I'm liking to see the progress that's going on.
All right, and I see, for the record, Commissioner Kane just joined us. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, good. That's going to make a big change in the way we're going to do things then if he stays on. So let's see. Vice Chair Winika, do you have anything?
Yeah, it'll be just, I think maybe in a few weeks or so, just to get an update on how we're doing on the TIF district.
Okay.
And as you know, it's very close to my heart.
So can I ask for some clarification? You want to know what the existing TIF projects and
No,
TIF
the
agreements?
progress, has anything moved?
Okay,
Yeah,
with
towards our goal.
specific projects? And
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
I think in relation
We
to
can do
the
that.
projects at the south end of
The
town.
south end of
southern
town.
TIF district where they were
Yes.
getting ready to let some bids, I thought at one time, for some sidewalks and stuff.
Sidewalks, yeah.
Oh,
And we were going to
okay.
try and connect some sidewalks.
that's the Price Chopper and Orchland
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I think, and I'd like to maybe the next regular meeting, just like to have you give us an update on various projects around the community. How, if there are projects, ongoing large construction projects, I mean, not each little individual permit, but if there are any large projects going on around the community, just get that on the record so the community knows what's going on. We try to do that every once in a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
So-
be happy to do that, thank you.
All right. Sure, absolutely, and I have, other than that, I have nothing. So, moving right along, we're going to have a public hearing. We're going to have 3 public hearings tonight. The first one is on Evanwood subdivision located at 101 East Wilson. And before I open the public hearing, just so you all understand how this works, we'll open the public hearing. Staff will make their presentation, and they'll make their presentation based on what the applicant has asked for. Then they'll give us their recommendations based on something called the Golden Rule, which is a set of criteria that was put out by the Kansas Supreme Court to talk about the way planning commissions work and what we can talk about. Then we'll ask if the developers here, we'll ask them if they'd like to have anything to say, and then we'll open it up to public comments. And we ask you that you limit your public comments to things that are germane to what you've heard before you speak, and we'll probably, because there are a lot of you here, we'll probably limit your time depending on what you want to speak about. So we're going to, with that, and then we'll close the public hearing. We won't be the commission won't be answering questions during the hearing. We'll make notes, and then after the hearing closes, then we'll try to answer the questions. We might ask a clarification question, but we don't want to get into a dialogue. We don't want to extend it out. So we'll hear what you have to say. We'll close the public hearing, and then we'll have our discussion and what we're going to do on it. So with that, we'll open the public hearing on the Evanwood subdivision at 101 East Wilson Street. Director Hall?
Jennifer Reinhardt is going to be giving a presentation
All right.
on this.
Are you there?
Good
Jennifer?
evening, Commissioners. I'm going to share my screen. I have a brief presentation for this Evanwoods preliminary plat discussion that's before you this evening. And so the item before you is to consider the proposed preliminary plat for Innswood that replats 2 lots of the Riverview Addition subdivision, and it's located at 1001 East Wilson. This slide gives an overview of where, so indicated with the red rectangle, is where this proposed residential subdivision will be. And it is currently zoned R1 with a future land use of low density residential, and the proposed use of single family homes is consistent with both the zoning and the land use. So what is proposed on this lot does comply with the city's overall regulation, and I'll go into more detail. The staff report outlines the main findings, and I did want that received an updated preliminary plat. So I believe that was the revised version has been distributed by paper copies. It was not included in a packet that went out. The only difference is the sidewalk location on the internal Harrison Street. At the study session conversation, planning commissioners did request to change the location of that internal sidewalk, and so the developers have complied, and its revised version will note that is the change. So the sidewalk along Harrison is now on the eastern side as per your request. But in general, there are 16 lots, again, proposed for single family use only. And then 1 tract on the northeast side is reserved for stormwater detention. And the lots are facing the internal, which will be a new local residential road called Harrison Street. So the circulation will be internal to the subdivision. However, there are some proposed sidewalk improvements along one side of Grant Street. That northern road will see some sidewalk improvements through this proposed development. Otherwise, there are existing sidewalks. The developers are proposing to install 8 ramps. There will be parking on both sides of Harrison Street, as well as required off-street parking on all of those single-family lots.
Jennifer, I hate to interrupt you, but is there any way that you could reposition yourself a little bit? Our feed's not very good. You're cutting out a lot.
I apologize. I'll speak up. Hopefully that'll help.
Okay.
Is that any better?
That's better.
Okay. Thank you. So, and I'm almost done with the presentation, but just to summarize, again, all of the lot sizes and the dimensions are consistent with the existing zoning, with the exception of the 3 corner lots, which are 4 feet smaller than the requirements. And so administrative variance is being requested. That falls within the 10% that is provided for in the regulations, and staff is okay with that request. And then just another update that as of this week, the city engineer has signed off on the revised stormwater management plan. That's been revised and updated since the Planning Commission study session. So as of this moment, all city staff and engineer and design review committee comments have been addressed and resolved. And staff at this point does recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the condition that that corner lot size, lot width variance be granted for 66 feet instead of the 70-foot requirement.
And you did
And
say
this
that the sidewalk was relocated to the which side of the street?
Correct. So it is on the west
West
side
side.
of Harrison. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Jennifer before? The only question I have, the 66-foot, the 4-foot variance from the lot width, 2 of those lots I think are on an arterial. And I think there's a greater setback on an arterial than there is on a residential street, if I remember right. And my concern would just be for the building envelope for the future builder, will the additional setback required on an arterial allow for a buildable building envelope on those lots? Has anybody looked at that? And that might be something that the developer could speak to.
Through the chair, real quick, yes, I did, you were correct, and so those corner lots do have a additional setback. So in my opinion, the building envelope does provide for a buildable lot, and I'm happy if the developer also wants to speak to that as well.
Okay, thank you. Is that your presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. Director Hall, do you have anything to add to that?
It's a good question. So I think I would suggest that the builder speak to that, just so he's on the record. and he
Okay, do we
knows it.
have the developers of this subdivision here? If you'd come up and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Ben Ellis with MHS, 15700 College Boulevard in Lenexa, Kansas. And in answer to your question, so the corner lot setback along the street would be the 10-foot building setback, and it would still have plenty of additional space there with a 66-foot lot. The typical lot that we're using is a 56-foot wide lot with 6-foot setbacks on those as well. So that would still give us enough buildable area for those corner lots as well.
Okay. That was hopefully to protect you guys, because we're going to deal with unbuildable lots here in just a little bit, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're happy to answer any other questions that you guys have as well.
You have
Thank
anything additionally you'd like to,
I think we're excited about the development. We've worked with staff for the last couple of months to get things put together and meet all their requirements. And I think we're excited to get started.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll open up for public comments now, and again, we'd remind you to come to the microphone, please, and state if you have any comments, and state your name and where you live, and then give us your comments based on the presentation. Good grief. Nobody here for this one. Okay, well, shall we close the public comments?
And nobody online? Nobody.
No, there's only Jennifer and Commissioner Kane online.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Jennifer a question
Absolutely.
about the setback along arterial? Are you speaking of Wilson? Are you speaking
Yes.
arterial? Okay. So the setback requirement, just confirming with because I haven't looked that closely at that question, honestly, and I just wouldn't want to not fully understand this before we proceed. So the setback along an arterial street, it states this: no building or structure which fronts or sides on an arterial street shall be located nearer to the center of the arterial street right-of-way than the sum of the required front yard in feet plus 60 feet. No recorded front building setback line shall be established which is less than the projected necessary right-of-way for Phase 68 highway as shown in Phase 68 quarter management plan. That last sentence is not relevant to this case. So just to be clear, the setback is the required front yard plus 60 feet measured from the center of the arterial
Okay.
street. Is that your understanding, Jennifer? Okay. And
Okay.
you're still comfortable with this as proposed?
I am, yes.
Okay. Okay.
So then what's the right-of-way of Wilson?
Do we know what the right-of-way of Wilson is, Jennifer?
It's
I'll
on, it'd be
have
on the
to-
plat, we just can't read it because it's so small.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, do you happen to have that? I'm zooming in on it now. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, it's a 68 and a half foot right
On your side,
Thank you.
From the
On-
center?
From the center.
From total,
68 and a half
So-
total?
yes, 34.25.
Then-
Based on the survey that we conducted there.
Well, with that being said, then the setback's gonna be more than 10 feet, right?
Yes.
So I couldn't hear exactly all of what you read there, but
That would be
Be 25.
60 feet
And
plus the
I'm sorry
setback, so
to
that would be 85
add
feet.
this to it,
Well, if it's
I-
35 on their side, it's
I hate to
60
do
total.
this.
It'd be 25.
We're
No.
at this point,
Right.
but I want,
60
I
feet
think it's
plus the
important for you to
setback,
understand,
plus the setback.
and perhaps Jennifer's already explained this to
And
you.
that was so, I didn't
But the
understand.
setback on an arterial is 60 feet measured from the center line.
From the center line.
It's the sum of the required front yard plus 60 feet. So if the required front yard is 20,
Which would be,
that's 80 feet.
80 feet from the center line.
And you were thinking it was
Is that your
25?
understanding, Jennifer?
Mike, are you talking into a microphone?
I'm not, and maybe
Okay.
I should.
So Jennifer, if you look at, it's Article 24, Section 24-201. And it's at the top of the page, page 24-2. It states, no building or structure along arterial streets, no building or structure which fronts or sides on an arterial street shall be located nearer to the center of the arterial street right-of-way than the sum of the required front yard in feet plus 60 feet. The zoning being R1, the required front setback is typically 20, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that in a housing opportunity overlay district, by the way?
It is not.
It is
It's
not.
it's straight R1, right, Jennifer?
R1.
Okay.
So that means that setback would be 80 feet from center line. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
I mean, that would typically push you 50 foot from your right-of-way line for a 60-foot right-of-way. That seems irregular, I guess.
Well, I don't think Wilson's, the right-of-way is 60 feet. I think that's wider than 60-foot right-of-way total.
They do.
And just inside the city, anywhere in a normal block, it's 80 feet right-of-way. So I don't think 60 is right.
Jennifer, do you have access to the GIS map?
I can pull that up, yes.
It's small. Here they're saying 60. So what Eric is saying is this is wrong, right?
Commissioner Crowley, yeah,
Yeah.
and I would tend to agree with him out there. I can't imagine that it's only.
It's
60.
wider than 60 foot. It
That's-
might be,
this
it might
is
be
wider,
60 on
right?
our side.
Yeah,
I just can't, I can't read this. It's too small.
it says 68.5.
And I don't want to get technical, but if it's saying 68.5, and this is really hard to read, and this is why I've said we'd actually, it'd be better to have a full-size copy, but you're talking from the section line. So that's a section corner there. So
Yeah.
the reason it's not exact and the reason it's intense is because you're measuring exactly from the section line to the right of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we're asking these questions for the benefit of you guys, because we don't want to develop two lots that are, you get there and are unbuildable.
No, I totally understand that. It does seem strange to me. I mean, the 68 and a half, I think is like you were saying with the, as surveyed from the section line, but it does seem strange that it would be a 50-foot setback from the edge of the right-of-way or a standard.
Well, but see, it wouldn't be if it was 100-foot, if it was 100-foot right-of-way, which a lot of arterials are, it'd be 50 feet plus 25 feet would be, or it would be 60 feet plus 25 feet would be, or 20 feet would be 80 feet. And so if you had a 50-foot from the center line to the property line, then you'd have a 30-foot setback, not a 50-foot setback. And that's the reason for my question.
So is Wilson, I guess, is it classified as an arterial? Is that one of the things she's looking at?
I think we need to confirm that, but I believe it is.
So it's either arterial or a collector. It's
And I can
one
go
or two.
upstairs and I'll see it on the map.
I think for the sake, I think you need that information, right?
Oh, yeah.
Unless Jennifer
Yeah,
knows.
we need that information.
No, I'm looking for that now.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I think what we're gonna do is, Jennifer's here and the developer's here, so I think we're gonna ask again, are there any public comments on this? And if not, then we're gonna close the public hearing, and then we'll have staff discussion on something. Closing the public hearing on Evanwood subdivision, we'll wait for Mike to get back, and we'll have further discussion between staff and the developer. So we beg your patience for just a little bit, guys.
That's why I've said several times, it's nicer to have the way we've done in the past, when you have something full size, you can actually read it.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. It'd also be nice to know, so right about here, so they just built a new house there. I wonder what they required to set back on that would be. I guess we approved that not too long ago.
Did we approve that? I don't remember that one.
In this corner right here, right?
Yes, yeah, it'd be these two lots right here. If what they're saying is right, I mean, the setback's gonna be clear back here somewhere. I mean, I'm not to scale, obviously, but it's gonna be, that's gonna leave a, because you've got this, then you've got the side yard setback on the other side that comes in.
And can you build? Then-
Yeah, that's the point. Could you have a buildable envelope there?
Wilson is classified as an arterial.
Arterial.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to ask Jennifer
Absolutely.
another question.
We're-
So-
We've closed the public hearing while you were upstairs, by the way, so we're in staff and
Okay.
director discussion right
Okay.
now, so.
So, Jennifer, I apologize for asking these questions at this late date. I just want everyone to understand the implications of it going forward. So, have you found section 24-201, paragraph C?
Are you there, Jennifer, or did we lose you? Must have lost her.
So effectively, that would affect 9 and 16.
She lost her. Maybe she's going to reestablish her connection.
So basically, it will mean as presented, we cannot.
Right.
Yeah.
If that's
The
correct.
Finding,
yeah.
then we have to go back and redo it.
I apologize, my connection went down. Mike, you were in the middle of a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you have in front of you, section 24, 201, paragraph C.
Yes, I'm looking at that.
So there's a baseline setback of 20 feet, right, for the R1 district?
For the front setback, yes.
And then I believe in the article for R1 zoning, I believe it references these supplementary requirements.
Yes.
And that's in Article 24, Section 24, specifically Section 24, 201, paragraph C. And my understanding, Jennifer, is you would measure 60 feet from the center line of the right-of-way, and then you would sum that with the baseline requirement with 20 feet, so you come up with a setback of 80 feet from center line. It's kind of an unusual. So the question is also, and the second question is, if you have access to the GIS map, are you able to determine the width of the right-of-way within a few feet, of course?
So, yes, I was originally thinking that it was only if it fronted the arterial street, but it does say sides. So in that case, yes, I think the side setback would also be this 60-foot additional requirement. Although it doesn't specifically say, only says front building setback line, but the lot does side the arterial street. I guess that's my question, because then this is referring to the side setback line, not front setback line. But I will try to measure the right of.
Our side setback is 15 foot.
7 feet less overhang, right?
The interior side? Interior side.
Any side setback.
Yeah, six. Yeah,
Seven.
7 to the
Six.
foundation, 6 to the eaves.
No, it's 6 to the foundation.
Yep.
Yeah, they changed that.
Did they
years
change
ago,
it? Okay.
6 to- yeah.
That's on the interior side, not on the street side.
So for the developer, if we can't get an answer tonight, what's that do to your timeline?
Well, I think we'd rather seek a continuance and discussion with staff versus a denial based on unbuildable lot. But I wouldn't like Jennifer to weigh in on this side setback versus front setback, because it's a side setback, and that would put us in the clear, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah. Did you catch that, Jennifer?
I did not. Could you
Okay,
please
they
repeat that?
said that they would rather have a continuance than a denial, obviously, but they said that they'd like to have you weigh in on side versus front yard setback, if that makes a difference.
Yeah, I would like to look into that. Thank you. So I'll follow up with them and look into the code, because yeah, I was interpreting it just with the front setback line. So this would obviously include the side setback and change the lot dimensions.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think I can understand where Jennifer's coming from, because in Article 6, it says front yards on arterial or collector street shall comply with Article 24. So I think there could be an interpretation question. I think
No mention of side yards?
it doesn't say side yards, so, but I think that my suggestion is to continue this, and we can discuss it with the developer, if that works for everybody. That'd be, and Jennifer, would you be amenable to that?
Yes.
I think that would be best, just to be safe.
Won't require another public hearing, right? Continuance does not require another public hearing.
Well, we closed the